We're joined now by the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Can we start off, first of all, talking about this new variant in Brazil? How long has the government known about it?
We've known since Sunday when Japan talks about it. It's probably worth just explaining there are thousands, literally thousands, of different variants of the coronavirus. So there's nothing particularly unusual about hearing about a new variant. Of course, we've got one right here in the UK as well. But what we do is we take those variants and we put them through a genome sequencing process in order to find out the best as we possibly can about them. And this one, as with the variant that we saw in Kent or the one in South Africa, shows it's significantly enough of interest to us just to take this precautionary approach of stopping all those flights from Brazil and South America.
I would suggest that you're more than significantly interested to ban an entire continent and Portugal. The suggestions are that you have known about the variant for some time. Why has it taken so long to act?
No, I must just correct you on this. I've heard a couple of people say it. And first of all, what happens with these variants? I heard it with the Kent one. People said, "Oh, you knew about it since September. It took you till December." People said there. That's because when you sequence these variants, it takes a huge amount of time and science to do it. It's not an instantaneous thing to genome sequence it. As I say, I think there are 12,000 different variants. It's not unusual at all. And as far as I can see, there have been no flights in the last week from Brazil. Even if there were, people were required, in any case, legally to quarantine from Brazil. So no, we've acted extremely quickly, given there are 12,000 different variants of coronavirus.
But when we informed the world about the variant identified in Kent, other countries acted almost immediately to ban travel from the UK. Why are we treating it differently?
So the UK has carried out the genome sequencing of nearly half of the entire world's coronavirus knowledge, if you like. So we're the sort of the world's leading country when it comes to that genome sequencing. And you do have to go through the sequencing to understand what the virus is doing. So we were able, with the Kent variant, to tell the world straight away, this is exactly what it is. This is what it looks like. We've sequenced it, and as soon as we did that, we provided the information to the WHO and told other countries. So this is a bit different. This is a variant from somewhere else. As I say, there have been thousands of different variants, and it takes a little bit of time to test that. In the meantime, everyone will have had to have quarantined, and in any case, there weren't direct flights coming from Brazil.
So you're saying that other countries, sorry to interrupt, you're saying that other countries acted more quickly because we clearly identified the variant, whereas the variant from Brazil hasn't been clearly identified to you?
Right, so we do a lot of the work in our own labs, as we did with the South African variant. So to take that one as an example, we knew about the variant, South Africa knew about the variant. We then got samples of it brought back to the UK, I think to Porton Down, and then did the analysis. That analysis takes days and weeks rather than hours to do. But as I say, there haven't been flights coming from Brazil in the meantime. We've acted extremely quickly, and our scientists aren't saying that the vaccine won't work against it. We just want to, we're at this late stage now. We've got so far. We've got jabs into the arms of 3 million Brits now. That's more than France, Spain, Germany, Italy put together. And we do not want to be tripping up at this last moment, which is why I took the decision as an extra precaution to ban those flights entirely.
Reports this morning about the French being concerned about the lateral flow test and its efficacy, but it's a test that we are still prepared to use. Why is there a mismatch between what the French deem as acceptable and what we're prepared to accept?
I think the report's actually erroneous. I saw that report earlier. I'm in very, very close contact with the French, with my opposite number. What the French Prime Minister actually said was that border workers would be excluded. Hauliers are included in that. We are testing hauliers, about 66,000 of them so far. And your viewers will remember that backlog in Kent back in December when the French closed the border before we put the testing in place. So that program's ongoing, and for the time being, no, it's lateral flow testing, and the French and us work very closely together on that to make sure that everybody's tested. It's the world's biggest testing of lorry drivers anywhere, and we're finding very low levels of coronavirus, something like 0.3%, which is much lower than the national average here or in France. And that's because, of course, these lorry drivers, long distance drivers, they live in their lorries by and large. They sleep in their cabs. It's actually quite a solitary arrangement, and means they're not very likely to be carrying the coronavirus around, not as likely as the rest of the population.
I wonder if we can go back to the Brazil variant. You've managed to bring this ban in within 24 hours, but yet still to confirm the negative test on arrival that you announced to me last Friday. What's been the issue there?
Yeah, so with the negative test, which has come in by law, but there's some leniency on it until Monday. Remember that this is actually a secondary thing, the test, because the first thing is the quarantine, which is required already and is by law already in place and has been for a very, very long time. But the issue is there are over 200 countries and territories. They all have different types of corona tests. We need to be able to advise accurately which test people must take before they come to the UK. And what we didn't want to do is create a secondary crisis, a repatriation crisis of Brits trying to return home, unsure whether tests in the particular location they happen to be would be sufficient to allow for their re-entry. So just for practical purposes, to make sure that Brits can return home, we've provided a little bit of grace, but everybody coming from anywhere not on a travel corridor must, by law, quarantine. And there are no exceptions to that, and you can end up with a criminal record if you don't.
Just to clarify, just going back, if I may, with the French border issue, are they not requiring PCR tests?
No, they do require PCR tests for people visiting. So I think this is where the confusions come in. And by the way, we're in a lockdown. Nobody should be moving. Nobody should be visiting. In any case, we're not encouraging UK citizens or anyone in the UK to start moving around nationally or internationally. But in addition to that, we have this arrangement with regard to hauliers. So this is so that our goods and services, our food and medicine can carry on flowing across to Calais. And in that case, they are able to take what are called lateral flow tests, the advantage being that the test results come within about 30 minutes. And that situation is unchanged. In fact, we're welcoming a delegation from France to the UK today to actually study how we put this process in place. As I say, it's the world's biggest testing of lorry drivers anywhere in the world. We've done over 66,000 of these tests, and we've got a lot of expertise, which they're actually coming to have a look at today.
So British hauliers will be totally unaffected?
Well, one thing I should say is actually 85% of hauliers who ply that route are actually European hauliers. So the vast majority are not British hauliers. We're mostly testing actually European hauliers in this particular case. But for the time being, there's no change. I can't promise what will happen forever and a day, but viewers will have noticed or probably recalled those scenes of Kent being full of lorries. Nothing to do with Brexit, but simply because the French decided to close their border when they heard about that UK variant, which is called B117. But we then put this testing in place that reopened the border, and there have been no queues and no disruption either through the COVID testing or even indeed the new paperwork that's come in at the borders in this last couple of weeks since that's happened. And we look forward to continuing to see a smooth operation down in Kent as well.
Grant Shapps, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.